Alright, we're going to do pads and rotors on this 04 Grand Am GT right here today. Alright, loosen your lug nuts first before you lift it in the air. Alright, these spin off. You can see the threads there, so once you got to loosen those first, and then the whole cap comes off with it. There we go. 3/4 inch, 19 millimeter. So just loosen them up a little bit before you get the car in the air. Just like that. Okay, once you have the car secure up on stands, go ahead and take your lug nuts the rest of the way off. Take off your wheel. This one came right off. If yours sticks, you can just hit the inside with a rubber mallet, or use a regular hammer or sludge with a wooden block so you don't bend your wheel, and just tap around on the back side of it and you'll be able to get it off. Okay, you got 2 bolts holding your caliper on. Should be this bolt and the other one down here. They are 13 millimeter. Go ahead and break those loose. You can spray them first if you want with some penetrating oil. Alright, once you got those 2 bolts loosen out, your caliper is going to drop. You don't want to let it hang from the brake hose, so make sure you have something to set it on, or you can damage the brake hose. So there's the top one. Make sure you take note of this bracket right here for reinstall, how it's on there. Shit. Alright. So it goes on like that from the back side. And your rotor caliper should come off here. You might have to tap it off with a hammer if it's stuck to the rotor, but let me switch the GoPro here.
That don't look that bad.
Oh shit.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. Yay! You got no pad left on this.
I said I know if that side's the worst side.
Woo!
This side doing that. Let's compare.
There you go.
Holy crap!
No pad. I used to have a pad over there.
Yeah, but they're breaking away, see?
Yeah. Was your caliper stuck on there over there? This one, I'm not sure it's because of this. It wasn't really wanting to come off.
Yeah, mine was a little, had a wiggle a little bit.
Now you can either reuse the old hardware, or we got new hardware with ours, so we're gonna pop the old ones out and install new ones. And then your rotor should come right off once the caliper's off. If it's not, again, just tap around on the back of it with a hammer. If you're replacing a rotor, then you ain't got to worry about messing it up. Just beat it off of there from the back side. Okay, then you just need to push your piston back in with a C-clamp like this. You push it back in. That way you'll have clearance for the new pads and rotor. Even if you're not replacing the rotor, the new pads are obviously going to be thicker. So you're going to need to push in the piston so that you'll have clearance. Alright, on this side, you see this one was completely annihilated. And we were trying to push it in with the C-clamp. And the piston is not wanting to go back in. We already went and did the other side and it went in much easier. So we got a problem over here. Either the caliper is seizing up or our brake hose is failing. So we are trying to diagnose it by cracking the bleeder valve. And if you crack the bleeder and then the piston goes all the way in really easy, then it should indicate that your brake hose is bad. If you crack this and it's still difficult to push back, then your caliper's seizing up. Now currently, this bleeder valve is really stuck, and we had to remove this little rubber piece. If I can get it to focus there. Anyways, a little rubber washer so we could get some PB blaster down in there to get on the threads and try to get this thing out without rounding it off. So you just use a pick to pull it out. It is not under the bolt, so you should be able to just pick it out. That way you can get some spray in there. So right now that's what we're fighting with, trying to get that out without rounding it off. Okay, we finally got this bleeder valve loose. It's still tight as shit, but let's see if the piston will go in now. If you're having trouble getting a C-clamp on there, you put the old pad back in, like he just did there for leverage. Alright, so we're pretty sure the caliper seized up and not the hose. We cracked the bleeder valve, pushed this back in. It was still really hard at first, and then it got easier, so that almost definitely confirms that there's some sort of bind up in there. And then even once we got past the bind, pushing it in the rest of the way, with the bleeder valve cracked, it was still somewhat difficult. It should be fairly easy if there's nothing wrong with it with that cracked, and it wasn't. And then another good indicator, when I just took the line off, and there was a whole bunch of fluid pouring out of the line freely for a good 30 seconds, so that's a good indicator that the line's fine too, and there's no block in the line. So we're about 99% sure that the caliper is seizing up, so we're going to get a new caliper for it. Okay, we're on the other side here. This is with the new hardware installed. Pay attention to how it comes out. It goes in like that. So one of these has a shorter pin, and one has a longer. The longer pin is going to go in the back, and the shorter pin is going to go in the front, or you will not be able to get them in there. And you want to try not to get these dirty like we did. And if you do, get a rag, brake parts cleaner, clean that off. Okay, typically if you buy these rotors from your regular parts store, they'll come in packing grease, and you're going to need brake parts cleaner to clean it off with a rag before you install it. But the company we ordered these from, they come dry without any packing grease or oil on them. So you can still wipe them down if you want, but these ones are good to go for us. Okay, so install, pretty simple. It's just going to be reverse, obviously. You install your caliper back on. Caliper will go in front of that. Bolts through the back with your little metal bracket, which is going to go like that. Again, don't touch the surfaces and get them dirty. Yeah, we still got to install our new hardware on there. Remember how they go in? Yep. I was going to say other way.
Let's get into it. Just try to get this when the caliper was off.
Alright, yeah, that little tab there, just make sure you got to push it down under the rubber, or you're going to tear your boot if you don't press the pin down. Bracket is backwards. It's supposed to cover this with that. Like that. Alright, once you get your new stuff on, it's going to be loose. So I'll have to get the car started and just lightly push the brake pedal down. Not all the way, just like 30-40% a few times, and you'll feel it firm back up. And that's getting these pads to go ahead and touch the rotor, because right now there's going to be a little gap in between them because the piston's out far enough to give this clearance. So you just need to push them a little bit, a couple times slowly, to get them to clamp back down, and then it should be good to go. So since we had to replace this, we need to go ahead and bleed this side. So make sure you got enough fluid and the cap off to start bleeding it. Okay, we just bled it. We're all down here, so now we just need to throw our wheels back on. Okay, basically just snug these down while it's up, just very light snug. And we're gonna drop it just enough to where the tire touches. Most people know to do the crisscross pattern, like a star, but you need to do it in 3 sets. Technically, you're supposed to use a torque wrench. Like say if we're gonna torque these to 90 foot-pounds, once we're complete, you wanna do the crisscross star pattern, 30 foot-pounds your first set, 60 foot-pounds your second set, and then 90 foot-pounds to finish it off. And the reason you want to do this is it keeps this wheel, it goes on perfectly flush, which will it'll actually affect your rotor. You'll get the typical warped rotor if you do not follow the torque sequence, because that causes your rotor to be mounted slightly crooked, so as it spins it will microscopically wobble, and that's what creates uneven rotor wear, and that's where you get that thump 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 in the brake pedal. So make sure you follow the 3-step torque process. So we're just going to lower it just to put a little weight on it so I can do the first and maybe the second set of 30 foot-pounds and then 60 foot-pounds, and then we'll drop the rest of the weight of the car on it to do the 90 foot-pounds. Okay, so I'm just going to do them light first. Like I said, if you're not good with torque, use the torque wrench. I would do 30 foot-pounds, then 60, then 90. Okay, second step, about 60 foot-pounds. Alright, go ahead and drop the weight. And then your third and final set, about 90 foot-pounds. Will be good for most vehicles.
All good.
Counterclockwise, yeah, put it all the way down. Okay, done.